Now, first of all, let me just quickly establish this before people start coming for us in the comments. Avatar is not an anime. We know this. We've mentioned this many times in the course of talking about it in this show. But let me just categorically state, obviously not anime. It's not an anime, okay? But heavily inspired by anime. Hello, and welcome back to Gateway to Anime. How are you all? What's going on? We are the podcast where we try and throw open the gates to anime, whether you're a new fan, a returning fan, ever wanted to get into anime but didn't know where to start. We're the podcast for you, and if you're a casual fan who doesn't have the time to spend deep in the reads knowing what to watch and overwhelmed by the sheer volume of shows, well, we're here to give you our recommendations of what you should be watching. Once again, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, which hopefully you are watching this podcast on. If you are simply a podcast listener, you can head over to Apple Podcasts and or Spotify and leave us a review because it really does make a massive difference. If you really like what we're doing, you can find us on Patreon where we do early release episodes and we also do special episodes of our podcast. So every fortnight, the show drops fortnightly now as of 2024, we'll have a little special episode which is sort of to do with what we're talking about, and that will become more apparent as we move along. But today, we are talking about the show that's on most people's lips at present. That is Avatar, The Last Airbender, which has a Netflix adaptation. And what is most exciting about this right now is we have a returning stalwart of the podcast, the original co-host who started with this with me and Charlie back in the day, Brett Dowson. How are you, my friend?
I'm excellent. It's great to be back. It's great to be here. Loved what you guys have been doing. Love how this has all evolved without me.
Would you say that everything changed from the Fire Nation attack?
No!
Because I don't know.
Everything
I am
changed when
Zuko.
Brett Dowson left.
I was banished, and now this is me. Yeah, my redemption story, trying to work my way back.
Which one of us is the Avatar? I don't
Which
know.
one of you is the Fire Lord?
So before we dive too deep into this, Charlie, how are you? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about, because obviously, as some people know who've listened to this podcast for a long time, that Sam and I never got into Avatar: The Last Airbender when we were younger. Graham and Brett, long-time fans of this, and I kind of missed the boat a bit. So I was excited to kind of watch this. I hope it was going to ignite some kind of passion for me to go back and start the animated series. And I got some interesting thoughts on it, so I'm excited to talk about it. I think it's quite interesting.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, Graham, of course. So both of you, actually. We're starting with Graham.
Okay.
It came out in 2006. Avatar, animated series on Nickelodeon, obviously heavily inspired by anime, and we'll talk about that more as we go along. But obviously the Netflix adaptation is out right now, and it's, it's a little bit divisive. But Gray, when did you start watching Avatar?
I never watched it when it first came. I think it was 2005.
Five, yeah.
So even
five.
I was past it. Not past
And it was
still
Nickelodeon.
Viral man.
So
Yeah.
you had to have Foxtel.
Back then,
Foxtel, Nickelodeon, if you had.
Oh, ABC
You know.
did have it, actually.
Did it?
Yes.
Australia? Okay.
But it was like after school cartoon kind of thing. And I had a couple of friends watching it. And the reason I didn't watch it, I was so angry that my friends who I was trying to get into anime refused to watch any anime with me but loved Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's when I was like, I resented it unfairly. And I think I missed a really amazing thing.
Series.
Like, seriously.
Story, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, anyway, we'll get onto that later though. Sorry, Graham.
So yeah, when did you come across it?
I don't actually remember when. I probably was when it was finishing. I feel like I had a friend who had watched it and he was like, you got to watch the ending of this. And then was trying to describe the world to me. And I was like, man, that's lame. I'm 18. Give me the drugs and all that type of stuff. Because that's what I was all about.
Of course.
But no, he just was so insistent on like watching it. It was like, it's a really great story. The lore is really rich. The characters, the plot, like the sort of arcs of the characters. And I was like, all right, as I'd already watched anime, I was like, show me a baby cartoon from Nickelodeon. But yeah, watched it. I mean, probably watched the whole thing back when you were downloading torrents in the day.
Mm-hmm. Early torrenting days.
Probably because it's not a long series. Like, I think there's, 30...
It's three seasons. Yeah.
episodes, 3
20,
books,
22 episodes
like that.
per season or something.
But yeah,
About
just
60 odd, yeah, okay.
smashed it in like less than a week and just, loved it. Loved it.
Interesting. So, Brett, when did you come across Avatar?
It was similar, but it was much, much later. So it was 2013 or 2014.
Okay.
And I got given a hard drive from a buddy, and that was on it. No one actually suggested it to me. I just started watching it. I think like you would watch Family Guy or Simpsons, just something in the background. And for the first season, it was on in the background. And then by the time I think it got to an episode called The Storm, which I'll talk about in a little bit, it embedded in me this unbelievable need to finish it very quickly. And I think I must have finished it over that next weekend, same as you. It was like the beginning. Yeah, it was like when we could, binging became,
Everyone had a hard
way,
drive
yeah.
of like a terabyte just filled with the most random stuff.
And of course, I, passed it on to a lot of people. So, yeah. I'd like to say I started it in a lot of ways in my little group of friends.
I thought you meant in general. I was like, wow, that's honestly, you're onto a great thing.
I started the hype.
All the way from
Everything
Perth.
came from me. Yep.
Well, it's interesting because even today in the office, and it was interesting today because we brought it up. So Alexi Toliopoulos, who we had on this podcast recently, he was in and was like, hey man, you watched Avatar? And he's like, nah, not yet. Don't know if I will. Someone else popped up, and someone I did not expect runs a meme page, and I won't say which one, but it was very interesting. And she just goes, oh yeah, like Avatar. Oh my God, it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite things. I was like, what? Like, what do you, like, so unexpected. The amount of people at parties, like, now, first of all, let me just quickly establish this before people start coming for us in the comments. Avatar is not an anime. We know this. We've mentioned this many times in the course of talking about it in this show. But let me just categorically state, obviously not anime. It's made in the US by US companies, not an anime, okay? But heavily inspired by anime. And it's interesting because so many people, a very good friend of yours, when we were at a friend of ours' farewell a couple of weeks ago, again, same thing. She was talking about like, oh my God, like, are you excited for the anime series, for the Avatar series coming out? And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, kind of. So like, it's so massively popular amongst millennials, right? Because it was 2005, 2006. It was like, we're all like,
It's a cultural touch point.
It was a cultural touch point for millennials. And also, I guess probably even older Gen Z, but they would have been kids, proper kids.
I guess
at
what
that
we'll
point.
talk about a little bit now as well, people have gone back to it because so many people have said this is one of the best series of all time. You have to watch it. The same reason why you were a little bit off it.
Huge thing for it as well. When people trapped in their home, they're like, I need something to watch. And
True.
if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, it's 100% Rotten Tomatoes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's 100%.
The animated series,
Yeah,
right?
the animated series.
Wow.
So I think people binging through those lists of this stuff just rediscovered it during the pandemic.
And me being a big Avatar hater is not actually accurate. I know it's good. I know it is. I just haven't gotten past the first season or the first book, and apparently it gets way better from there. Yeah. And I still think about it, and I think it's probably one of the best magic systems. I think it's a really cool lore. But I think, my resentment of not being able to get people into anime when I was young and people being so into Avatar and me just watching it and going, I've just seen this done better many times before in anime. But then also now I think that was me being stubborn. I think that's not necessarily fair. I think that the series, as in the animated series, not the live action series, has spoken for itself in terms of longevity and people coming to it later in life as well and still loving it. So I look forward to getting to book 2 and book 3. I reckon I'll come back and be like, that's it. It's gateway to Avatar. Like I think I'll be into it.
I'm sure a huge reason for that is because it actually has an ending. It drives towards a really fulfilling ending. And if you haven't seen it, this is really exciting because this is, something that you're going to get to experience hopefully very soon.
A series
Well,
that nails the landing.
I watched
really
Korra.
well.
And I didn't love Korra.
So tell people what Korra is for those who don't know.
So Korra was the sequel series, which was about another Avatar called Korra. That's her name, right? There you go. And it was actually, I think the way that this series is kind of framed, and I love this idea. It kind of reminds me of how you have like Naruto and then Naruto Shippuden in a way, where you have like, even though they're different characters, different stories. They sort of went, all right, Avatar is very much geared towards Nickelodeon, this kind of age group. Korra was much older, like a much more mature
It grew with its
themes.
audience.
It tried to grow with its audience, same way that Harry Potter did, same way that things like, and that's smart. And people were keen. So by the time that came out, it was probably like 2000 10, 11, around there, like
Couldn't tell you.
maybe 2011
12
kind of
maybe.
thing, 12, like even later. I think that they were smart to do that, but I just remember watching it being like, I don't think it's as well thought out a series as the original Avatar is. Cool things in it.
I'd say the last season is a banger.
Of course.
Like, yeah, the first one's good. Second one is painfully mid, but the third is really good.
Okay. Well, I have to go back and
and
get
then
back.
there's there's four series in
Yeah.
Korra as well. So
Yeah.
I love Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I think Korra has an even bigger place because I think it's more of a story that I can connect to on a personal level, whereas Avatar was a lot more of a fantasy world and a brilliant fantasy world.
Maybe I would have liked Korra more if I was more of an Avatar fan.
I think it does help.
Yeah.
I would say it does definitely help.
Look, I feel like I've got Avatar potential, as in potential to be the literal Avatar. No, I mean, as in,
Of course.
it could happen. No, as in, I should go back and watch it. But
What's your nation? What are you most affiliated with?
I don't know. What's the one everyone wants to be?
This will be our Patreon episode.
Yeah, actually, we're going to ask
Stay
this as a
tuned.
patron.
Nice natural segue. If you want to join and find out what we would all believe ourselves, look, the Patreon episodes are much more like loosey goosey, much more personal. If you want to hear all us talk absolute dribble, some bullshit about what elements
yes.
we all are.
Not bullshit.
My
Not
most
bullshit.
personal
Avatar late
story.
night.
Very important.
Anyway, that is for our Patreon channel. But until then,
Let's talk about live action because
Yes, let's
this is
talk about
interesting. So Netflix. So the reason we want to talk about this, obviously, we consider that we're gateway to anime, right? Our entire branding is people who want to have a gateway to get into anime, that kind of thing. Avatar: The Last Airbender, I feel like, is people who like Avatar: The Last Airbender will like a lot of anime. Like they
Correct.
just will. There's so many elements and story beats and things like that do make that very anime adjacent. And that's like the creators have very much been heavily influenced by that. So if you're into Avatar, you're probably going to like Fullmetal Alchemist, Naruto, Bleach, any of those kind of shonen stories. I really feel like you will.
absolutely.
Give it a go. But we're here to talk about, as Netflix just released a live action, and we've talked about it briefly before on the channel, is that One Piece came out and we all were like big old haters being like, this is the worst decision ever to make a One Piece live action, it's going to be terrible, and then ended up loving it. And I've never been more surprised in my life. Like, biggest shock was me liking the live action One Piece. Truly, it's how boring my life is. That was the biggest surprise. I was like, whoa, it's actually all right. So I went, okay, I now have a level of faith in these stories in which I don't personally believe necessarily need to have live action adaptations. Because I think that animation is as valid as storytelling, narrative, as live action. In case you don't know, we're fans of animation. Shocking. Stay with me. But
Hell of a lot cheaper too.
so I was excited to see this though, because I went, for someone like me who is a casual Avatar: The Last Airbender watcher, I think I've watched about halfway through season 1 many times, haven't gotten past it, need to push through. I know that about myself, but I went, this would be good. Similar to One Piece, where the different problem, whereas there's too much of it. I went, wouldn't it be cool to have like a condensed version that's kind of given to me in this way? I was like, maybe because this is taking place, forgive me if I'm wrong, it's book 1 of Avatar is this series,
Book
right?
of Air.
Yeah, and I went with some of book 2 thrown
bit
in
of
there,
book 2,
which I was
yeah.
like not into, might I, because I know that scene.
I think I know what. Yeah, I
yeah.
know why they're doing it.
Yeah, but I went, okay, this would be good for me. But then I was watching it and it didn't capture me the same way I was hoping. It looks beautiful, but I think that in terms of storytelling of this show, obviously there's been live adaptation attempts of Avatar: The Last Airbender before. We had M. Night Shyamalan's version, which is notoriously terrible. I watched a bit of it today, actually.
Really?
And you know what? I went, it's badly paced. It shouldn't have been a movie. It's whitewashed beyond. This adaptation on Netflix, they took a lot of care in terms of casting. They wanted to make sure they were kind of accurate towards like casting certain cultures of people from like actors of a certain background to fit who was inspired for this series. I know it's set in a fantasy land, but obviously you have the water tribe as Inuit, like that kind of is very heavily influenced from
Yes.
the indigenous Canadian tribes, that kind of thing, like
Community.
a lot. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so they kind of made a lot of effort. Production design's wonderful, but I just didn't like the show because it's not that well paced and the exposition was just too much for me.
So clunky.
But God, does the bending look good.
yeah.
Like, gone are the days where I'm worried about special effects not working. You know, it used to be like, we can't have anime because we've got Mortal Kombat from the 90s shit, you know, like that kind of. Now it's like, it's got to look good. We got the money. They had money behind this. But I went.
You're talking about feature films as well, and this is
Yeah.
a television series
Yeah.
that we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
And yeah. So films of that ilk of the M. Night Shyamalan ilk, they had the budget to be able to make the visual effects work, but now the television series have the ability to do it as well.
And it looks incredible. The water bending in particular, fire bending, like it all looks fantastic. But
I think it's 15 mil an episode.
yeah.
Really?
And like I like the production design. Honestly, one thing, wigs. Why have wigs gotten worse?
I don't know. I've been thinking about that myself.
Same with,
I
like,
think it's
House
because
of-
Wigs
cameras
House
have
of-
gotten better, maybe, and you can see it.
Maybe.
Because like I was thinking about this in terms of like I was watching, House of the Dragon, and I feel like the Targaryen wigs were better in Game of Thrones, and now the Targaryen wigs look kind of dumb later. And I'm like, surely wig technology's gotten better.
I remember when I was
Do you know what I mean?
watching-
Like, there's like artists, like no disrespect to wigs, like wig artists, you guys are great, but like the particular wigs in Avatar are not good.
I remember watching, was it Hobbit 60 frames per
Oh, yeah,
when
yeah.
that was a big thing, and you could see how the makeup was laid on. It was just too much. Sometimes you got too
Too
much
far.
detail. Yeah.
Too much far.
Give it a
It's
filter.
4K. You don't like.
Yeah.
For podcast filming, you don't need to use 4K, people. FYI, it's too detailed and too
Yeah.
much data.
Be ugly.
Too deal. Don't need that shit. So yeah, it's interesting. But
Anyway, sorry, I just fully went on for a while there, but I
Yeah,
feel
wigs,
like,
but, yeah.
I my personal opinion of the series, I think there's a lot to like about it. I think there's some good performances. I think there's too much exposition. I didn't like how they set up the story because I went back and watched a bit of the.
Yeah.
I didn't love that we flashed right back to the air nomads and all of that. I kind of enjoyed the
massacre?
story.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
though?
Yeah, please do. You know way more about this than me.
I think they needed to do that in this series because otherwise you're starting an entire new series for a new audience with just two people in a boat and some guy in an iceberg. So visually speaking, that I think that was actually not a bad choice to actually show the devastation of the Fire Nation attacking back in the day to give us a sense of stakes. However, the biggest issue with, I think, the first episode is that they've taken what I think is the most important emotional beat, almost of the entire original series, and that's the storm. So there's this episode in the first book, about halfway through, and it's all about us learning about why Aang ended up in the iceberg and why Zuko is chasing the Avatar. So it's all about this young boy who proposed self-banishment upon himself because he didn't want to be the Avatar, and this other young child who had enforced banishment because he disrespected his father and was sent away. So I'm not ruining anything for anybody because we build to that learning in the series, and it drops really hard and really anchors the story after we've learned to love these characters in a different way. Whereas now, that's where the stakes start with this, and they almost, every single episode then has to sort of match it.
Yeah, see, I kind of like the idea that even if we start up with two people in a boat, our two, protagonists of that episode are going to be Katara and Sokka, right? I kind of feel like them discovering, the audience discovering along with them would have been a stronger narrative thing. Then you could have flashbacks to
Which they have employed,
yeah, which I think would have been better than
like
just
Game of
'cause
Thrones.
Honestly,
it's sort
it
of
took
this-
14 minutes to get to Katara, and so it was like a full episode. There was a monologue that Aang gave to, he was like, I don't want to be the
That was
Avatar. And I was like, why?
was
And
dreadful.
honestly, I straight up think that the kid playing Aang is good. I think he's a good actor. I think he's doing well with this role. I think that all it's they've cast it quite well. I just felt the exposition and the script was the biggest letdown for this series.
Unfortunately, though, yes, you're right. I would have liked that too. I think that establishment could have worked just as you said, and would have been a lot like how Game of Thrones started, where they go beyond the wall and then a few don't. I can't quite remember it. The few don't come back or something.
there's someone running from the White Walkers.
But unfortunately, the executives are thinking, how do I keep bums on seats? And that is to start with a big action sequence. So hook 'em, and that is why I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're right. Because the average punter might turn it off after a few minutes. So
But it wasn't that interesting. It went for ages as well. I guess actually, you know what? The opening sequence of the Earthbender,
That was cool.
running away and fighting the Fire Nation, that kind of thing. That was really cool. But they didn't have to then go to the air nomads after that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could have started
Yeah.
with that action sequence and then gone to the boat.
Also lost a lot of mystery around Aang.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because,
That's the
that's
thing.
the whole point. When you first find him, like, who the hell is this dude?
And he does discover it pretty
ice.
early on.
Yeah, and
So-
also they skip the whole part where they go into the boat, and that sets off, and
then gets a Fire Nation there, and then-
Well, the boat was very close
Mm.
to the village, which I also understand why it would be if they'd been there attacking the village. So I'm giving it a lot of benefit of the doubt. But we missed a really iconic and tonal thing that I think we're going to miss throughout this entire series. Perhaps they will. Perhaps they'll get a little bit more humorous and work on that, downtime sort of sense of play that they have in the original series. But for those who know the animated series, it's Aang really getting excited about going and finding penguin seals and going sledding. And there's an amazing fun sequence that ends up at this Fire Nation ship that is booby trapped, and then it
summons the Fire Nation
So-
to the specific spot.
This is my main issue I have with this show so far is I think that they haven't captured the playful heart of the original. And I really do. I understand that when you're making a live action, you want to kind of you don't want to have that goofy nature to a lot of things. You're spending this money, make it gritty, make it interesting, make it more adult. But I think it's a disservice. I think One Piece showed that you can have that level of playfulness and that level of kind of goofiness for a show like this and it still be good. That's where I think One Piece really succeeded over Avatar: The Last Airbender in terms of heart. But they still captured that.
What I do hope, though, is they find that as the stakes have been set and this necessity for Aang to save the world gets sort of built with his journey to all these different areas to work out exactly what the Fire Nation has done to them, and hopefully in that journey, it's a fairly long journey and they travel quite a distance. Hopefully they do establish that play and that interactiveness between all of the main cast members. Especially, we've got some great characters to come through.
It's going to be good.
Toph is going to be.
We're going to stay the course.
Have
faith.
Graham, what are your thoughts so far on the live action Avatar series? As a huge fan of the anime.
I don't hate it.
Okay.
Or maybe I'm just at that age that I've had things that have disappointed me in the past. I'm willing to give stuff a nod. I didn't like Aang flying though. That really
right.
I was like, Aang is, because if you know Legend of Korra, the ability to fly is something that you have to really work for. That kind of took me out of it, but I understand why they did it. I don't hate it. I just don't. When I was watching it with Nat, who's never had any exposure to Avatar as well.
Nat being your partner, of course.
Yeah, of course. I don't know why I said that
For the audience.
For Nat's sake.
Yeah, she enjoyed it because this is, for a lot of people, this is going to be their first introduction of this fresh new world, and they don't know the story, they don't know the characters. This is, a really unique world that these guys have put together. Maybe I'm kind of watching it through her eyes more than anything else, but look, I don't hate it. I like Kyoshi stuff.
Yeah.
I like that they spent a lot more time there than I thought they would. It's half-hour episode, and then you don't see. We worried too much about spoilers on this, but you actually don't see her for a long time. It's not until book 2 that you actually come across her again.
The age-old question here, right, comes, and obviously we know it's not an anime, but of course the thing is, this is one of those shows which could easily get people into anime because
probably has.
This is the thing, right? And this is the big question I always come back to with the live action adaptations: is that was it worth it? Is this now something which will get people to look at that and go, "Oh, I'll go check out the animation. Oh, I really like that animation. Gee, what's anime like?" This is based off animes. What's anime all about? I'll listen to this podcast, which does, you know what I mean?
I'll subscribe to the Patreon.
And then there you go. And then, But honestly, always brings me back to this. And it's like, why Cowboy Bebop kind of pissed me off? Because it's like, I watched that and I'm like, we didn't need to do this. This isn't an advertisement for the show because it's not the show. But this is interesting because this still is Avatar. It's not M. Night Shyamalan Disaster Zone, which did damage and irreparable damage to everyone involved and everything to do with
including him,
how the world works,
very much him and his career.
Yeah, disaster. But this isn't a disaster in any way, shape, or form.
Sorry, M. Night Shyamalan's entire career is just making comebacks. His entire career, it's his comeback. Literally every third film is his new comeback.
But his comeback started after Avatar.
Yeah, no, his comeback started long before that as well.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, man. Oh God, yeah.
What did he do?
I love M. Night. Don't forget about The Happening. Don't forget about all of that. Everyone pissed off everyone.
That was after.
No,
wasn't
it was not.
The Village.
The
Happening
Village,
still
The
has the
Happening.
best moment in like
The
cinema
elevator
history.
one where the guy's trapped with the devil.
That's the Devil's okay. Devil's all right.
Yeah, no.
Old's okay. Like everything's a comeback.
Mark
It's the
Wahlberg-
beach, but it makes you old.
Mark
Like,
Wahlberg
that's
talking
80s
to a
cocaine
plastic
film, right?
ficus when plants are attacking and realizing it's a plastic ficus, I thought was like the funniest thing.
Oh, right.
A beautiful monologue straight to
little moment that was a disappointing film all round.
Welcome back to Gateway to M. Night Shyamalan.
I would do it.
I
would do it.
I was really excited for the live action. I love this world. I wanted to see anything else that was Avatar in this world, whether it was good or whether it was bad, because it gives you an opportunity to live in it again, like any Star Wars spin-off series, new film, new canon. One of the things that I think Avatar had going for it was the fact that it was a 3-series structure. If they did it frame by frame live action, it would have worked. I know why they can't do that, but one of the things that I think One Piece has in its, like where One Piece has a lot more of like hundreds more episodes to actually call from, that was more just about establishing a completely new kind of like story and canon for a new audience, whereas this is always going to be compared a lot more, I think.
Yeah, I suppose because obviously this is to a Western audience. It's a Western show. Whereas like One Piece, while obviously the biggest manga of all time and so big in Japan it's not even funny, comparatively in the West, nowhere near as big. Like Naruto is so much bigger in the US, numbers-wise, than One Piece. Not even close. But obviously you're right. So that there is a reference point there. But I guess One Piece is more like, you would have heard of this, but you've probably never watched it.
Or you've started watching 30, 40
Yeah, well, you do,
episodes and
yeah.
it's like, wow,
When
this
you
is
were-
maybe too much, which is me.
Yeah, of
I was
course.
really interested. It's like, great. You know, like I've done 300 episodes of Naruto and haven't really gotten anywhere. So I do the same with One Piece, but I just didn't keep going.
Oh, it's too big.
Too big, yeah.
Obviously, the great, and of course, as the news has come out, not well now, a fair while ago, but the fact that
days
they're but the One Piece remake.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant the Naruto live action.
No, that's going to be an absolute fucking disaster. But I'm already
heard it here first.
I'm
Don't
burying that
bother.
instantly.
I
but
don't know the direct. So I like. For people who don't know, Naruto has been announced as a live action film.
Yes,
Film or TV series?
film.
Oh, that's
by
kind of
Warner
Yeah.
Brothers.
Oh, I thought it was
Directed
Warner
by the same director who did Shang-Chi, which actually is a really good movie. And I feel like that aesthetic could be really cool. And I feel like I understand that as a directorial choice. But to me, again, the reason that One Piece, the reason that Avatar, these things are kind of working now as live action adaptations and animation is working is because animation adaptations of long form series, not making them into a movie like fucking Dragon Ball Evolution, kind of
Or
shit like that.
Avatar.
It's helpful to, yes, all of, Avatar
Or
before.
M. Night Shyamalan,
Yeah. It's helpful to be able to have a similar narrative structure as a TV series. I'm like, it's a no-brainer for me that something like Naruto should be a fucking TV
Of
series.
course it should.
But hey, I would love to be proven wrong. Please be the best movie ever made.
So would I. We want it to be good, but my jaded experience of this godforsaken world tells me that it won't be. So, But also, of course, they are doing...
You've not even hurt many times before.
Who hasn't?
I also don't
We live in a
think...
capitalist society, dude. Like, what's going
We've
on
all
here?
been hurt by anime live action adaptations.
So badly.
Personally attacked.
Personally attacked. It's my whole identity.
I also don't think that just, me going back to audience and, capitalism, it's not for you guys. You've got your experience of Naruto and that is embedded in you and that's fine and you'll be the haters. But there's a whole new audience out there.
No, I
And
disagree on that one.
But I
know.
don't like it. I don't like that we keep rehashing, remaking source material like for new audiences.
Just
but
what do you do
that
about
is the
for a
reason.
movie?
But what do you do for movies? I mean, I would love to see it.
I want Naruto
I would
to
love
be...
to be successful. I actually disagree. I think I would love to see that successful for a whole new audience.
As would I.
But I just don't understand how they could make that narratively work for a film. And I think
Sure.
that there's a reason why live action, same with video games, same with like anime, manga, comics, a long form narrative storytelling that people have finally gone, what if a TV series would have worked? It's like, no shit,
Yeah.
of course. So I think that we all want that to be, we all want a new generation to find Naruto. We actually want that.
Obviously.
That's our entire thing.
This is why we started the show.
Yeah, but I think for a film it's going to be a tall order, but hey, it might work depending. I guess they want to franchise it.
I don't think they're expecting people to go back to the anime, unfortunately, though. That's what I mean. They want them to just have. No, I think they just want the source material to actually create a new show for a completely new audience that hasn't experienced Naruto.
I fully disagree. They're picking this because it's huge IP. They're picking it because it has a huge following already. No one goes out on a limb and wants to do a whole new thing. They go, what's this built-in? Or that's why people want anime, right? They got
the built-in audience.
They want built-in audience. They want that kind of thing. So I guess I understand what you're saying, that like you want to have like a tightrope here where you go, I want to appeal to new people, but you also want to appeal to the built-in audience that you have with this IP, which is why it got funded.
Most of them will go watch it and not like it though.
But again,
but it works like One Piece, where One Piece fans actually really liked it. But that's because it was a show handled by a showrunner who is a huge One Piece fan who honoured that and went to, and this is actually coming back to Avatar now, because Oda had a bit to do with that show, right?
Yes, he did.
Whereas the creators of Avatar actually left production of this about 4 or 5 years ago. But they went, you know what, you guys can have this. We don't agree with the creative direction it's going. We're going to go work on other Avatar things with Nickelodeon. So that to me is already a bit of a red flag for this show.
Yeah.
Going up was like the fact that the original.
They stuck around for the Shyamalan one. This is why I'm kind of like, they stuck around for the entire. They actually were supposed to make a 4th season of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but put that aside to work on the Shyamalan movie, and was on that movie till the end of the whole thing.
Really?
So
But you think that maybe they've learned from their mistakes and they saw this one. And they went,
maybe.
I don't
But
know.
if I was there, I'd be like, red flags. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's bail.
true. You don't know what kind of contracts you're in though. It's like at the time,
Maybe.
it's like someone of a Hollywood movie wants to make it, you're kind of stuck in there, so you have to be there till the end. I don't
truck
know,
of money
and so
helps.
don't obviously quote any of us on that because we have no idea what happened there.
Don't sue us.
But yeah, look, this show, you can see there's been a bit of care, particularly in the production design of this show. Like,
yes.
in terms of recreating things, that kind of stuff. And like, I'm not a big Avatar person, so it's weird that the fact that I'm more offended by the show than you guys are means it probably did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm old. I don't care.
That's
To be
it.
honest, like, I'm just like,
I mean,
it's fine.
I'm not sure how far you guys got, but I only got halfway through, and I'll finish it obviously. But when they, arrive at Amashu and there's no Boomy, and I'm like, okay, nah,
I haven't got there yet.
Not
Right,
happening.
okay.
Not happening.
This might be a mute point then.
No. But then
Turn the cameras back on.
what they do, Graham.
Are you not up to Boomy?
What they do, Graham, is they establish Amashu as a city, and they
Right.
bring in the characters of Jet and the Mechanist. And
right.
the Mechanist is not at the Northern Air Temple. He's at the
just
city
in-
doing his thing,
Yeah.
played by Danny Pudi. And they end up bringing these two storylines, which are about betrayal, into Amashu and getting through that and establishing that for the story, which actually works.
Okay.
And then Boomy is presented at the end after he's gone through all this in the town. Then he's presented to the palace, and
Yeah.
then Boomy gets his whole episode, and that was actually really clever.
But
Aang gets caught in the palace caves, and that's where they bring in the
Secret tunnel
the
through the
secret
mountain.
tunnel through the
No.
mountain.
And you know who?
I hate that.
And you know who is in the
Secret
cave of
tunnel.
lovers?
Yeah.
Is fucking Katara and Sokka, which is like
It's about familial love
about being
them
family.
connecting rather than Aang and her
romantically. And like I understand,
I understand
why
why as
they
well.
didn't
They're
go
young,
for the
but-
Katara Aang thing right now, because although the actors are age appropriate, he is like, I think that actor is probably 13, 14, he's playing 12. She's 16, 17, playing 14. So Aang and Katara are 12 and 14 at the start, right? They're romantic later. So for them to have that storyline
Be very
this
strange.
early on, it would be very
He's already
uncomfortable.
dealing with way too much in terms of what his role and destiny is.
That's why I was like,
and-
don't bring it in now, leave it. But it was just fan service.
But the reason it's fan service
they
is
wanted
bringing
a
in
secret
Secret
tunnel.
Tunnel a bit too early, and I thought,
Secret tunnel.
it was
but it's
also
not-
really auto-tuned. I didn't like it. I love Secret Tunnel. So I actually have
That's
seen
right,
that.
the whole show.
yeah,
The Cabbage Guy and Secret Tunnel. That's
And
my
he was
favorite
also in
parts.
it.
Cabbage
Oh, is
Guy.
it?
His Cabbage Guy
Cabbage
is
Guy's
there.
done well.
And honestly,
But
the
the-
Cabbage
Then
Guy
we'll go, then back
might
on.
be the best best
is,
adaptation of it is the Cabbage Guy.
It's
He's
a
the Cabbage
great
Guy?
nod. It's a great
Good.
nod, and he gets all the service that you would expect and
Yeah.
hope for. But I guess now they don't have to in book 2 go to
Yeah,
the
the path
caves
and-
and have this
yeah.
whole episode where which will become in a live action series a little bit of filler.
Well, I guess the central question is, was this worth being made? what do you like as Avatar fans? Are you both like, thank God, so glad this is happening. This is now going to open up this whole world to new people, or are you sort of just like what I've been hearing from a lot of Avatar fans, like Gerald, obviously been on the show a fair few times, so lots of people are just sort of like, There's been the kind of response that I've been seeing.
I was the first episode was quite emotional. I think it was a big build up for me.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia and they're doing this instead, or what about that? And and there was lots of questions like we've been discussing. Should have they done this here? Should have they done this there? As a fan, I'm trying to be as objective as possible so that what is it like for someone to watch this and does it hold up on its own without the background of knowing the source material very well? And I really do think it does.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
If it's a gateway to Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animated show, of like people like I really like that, I'm gonna go watch the original 2005 and then Korra. More power to them.
Well, it made me want to turn it off and turn on the cartoon one.
That's great
So,
as well.
I guess that was a success in that own way. Because honestly, guys, the show itself is clunky and a bit boring.
Yeah.
It is.
It's clunky. The exposition is...
And I think as a non-fan, like you and I watching this, like as people who aren't going to be... I guess I'm a non-fan, but I know a lot about Avatar. you just...
Do you know it won a Peabody Award in 2009? Because I do.
It should have. It's great. Like, people love it. But I will go back and watch it because I need to get on board with it. But yeah, I kind of went... this is just unfortunately isn't that great a show for a non-fan of this. It just isn't as exciting as other live action fantasy shows are. But it's not terrible. It's not the worst thing. It's not M. Night Shyamalan's. It's not
It's not Death Note.
It's not like in the same conversation as those. It's just not incredible. And I think from what I've heard, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animated show, is in a top tier incredible. People put it there. This is not quite match it.
there yet.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, sure.
That's hard to do though. They're different mediums.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, for me, it's like, I just want people to take, and we talk to Adi Shankar about this exact same thing. He's like, I just want people to take animation as seriously as anything else, any live action. And I completely agree. And I think I've gotten probably halfway through the Avatar: The Last Airbender, the actual animated series, like twice. And it's not that I don't like it. So don't come for me about that. But like the thing is, like, no, they're coming for me. It's fine. But the thing about it for me is that, like, I guess my big issue with Avatar: The Last Airbender is that, like, you mentioned it pretty much before, but like I've seen all the things it's based off, and the things that it's based off are better, which are the anime shows, obviously. And obviously, I'm an anime guy. I get it. But again, Avatar is that thing where I'm like, hey, wow, a show that gets people to take animation seriously. People love it, and it's inspired by all the things that I love. Avatar is an absolute winner for me, and like I will finish it 100%.
You owe it to yourself.
I've seen some of those shows too, and in terms of story structure and the serviceability on character arcs, there are very few that do it well. This is one of those shows where there is no thread that isn't.
Every character's journey,
and you can't say that about a lot of animes because of the way that.
Said about few, but yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe quite a few. Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. I think it's a very tight, as you say, even in terms of length, in terms of like how they've structured and what their storytelling is. I also think for a Western audience, I think it's kind of way more accessible in terms of comedy, in terms of things that we kind of beats storytelling beats. Yeah.
Even though it's not anime, I think it's the ultimate gateway to anime show. Yes. And you guys don't need to worry about it because you're already there.
Well, yeah, 100%. 100%.
But I also just want to be involved. And also now I'm invested.
To the gateway.
But if you like storytelling and you like to see something that gives you a fulfilling ending, then this is definitely the series for you.
The thing that always, like, because I think the best parallel you can probably make with this to anime is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, right? Very, very close.
Yeah.
Very, very close. I guess what's interesting is that the big difference between...
Come on, they're very different.
Sure, but I mean, the most evocative for me, like the world, structurally, the size of it all, the hero's journey, not dissimilar to, it's like, obviously, without the...
I guess even Fullmetal Alchemist is way more hectic.
This is exactly the point I was about to make. This is the difference,
and
right?
also like goes between like, it's a bit of a tonal like whiplash because you kind of like, it goes like goofy humor and then it's like the most fucked up thing you've ever seen in your life.
But this is my point, right?
So it's very quite different.
But this is my point.
A lot of it's service to them and not about saving the world as much as, I mean, it's both, but like,
which is why it's such a
the stakes of Avatar is about, hey, only you can save this the world.
Yes, but what's interesting to me about Avatar is the different, like the big thing about what I guess shocks a lot of people about anime, right, is how intense it is and like how brutal it can be, and like you're not used to seeing like animation do that. You know what I mean? Like, which is one of the big things that why Japan and anime became so massive is because it was doing adult things, and I don't mean that in a pornographic sense, but adult things, deal with adult themes very, very honestly, right? And of course, the second episode of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood just like blows your mind when you
And the
watch it. You're
fourth
like,
one is
what
even more
the
fucked.
fuck? You know what I mean? Like, and I guess for me that's one of the things that draws me to anime, but I get that that's something that can put a lot of people off.
Don't forget though, Avatar also has a lot of like, I think there's a moment in Avatar, there's like a lot of emotional things in there that puts it up there with some of the like, has been voted some of the greatest television scenes in history.
Yes.
Have been in Avatar: The Last Airbender, have been about emotional stakes and things like that we don't get because we haven't gotten to that point with the show. And I think that there are some creepy things in there, like blood bending, a little bit creepy.
There's
Of
a
course.
character called the Face Stealer.
Yeah, love
Who
it.
steals your face if you make a face.
Like,
It stops Aang for
I
a
think
spirit.
I think it actually touches on that kind
Wears
of
a scar,
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
he
scary.
got it from his own father. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of heavy themes in there.
That's just the nature. It is a Western show. It's made by Nickelodeon.
Yes.
Well, technically, it's made by three Korean studios by Nickelodeon. But like, even the root of it is there can't be any violence in it. That's
Yes.
why.
That's
why there's bending in it, because they were like, how do we do these fight scenes where actual people being hurt and maimed and killed? Oh, we'll have them throw water at each other or a rock. Like, it's all built into the DNA. Like, I think comparing it to anime, where look, it's pretty much anything goes to a certain point.
Yeah, to a degree, yeah.
I don't think it's kind of fair.
Who do you think has been in this live action adaptation for the two big fans of the show, and Sam as well, I guess I'll include you? Who has been the best?
Casting.
Who's the best?
Casting for
Who
the
do you think
character.
you're kind of like, this is the best version of this role for the live action out of everyone? Who do you think is like killing it?
I think Sokka's doing a good job.
Zuko
Yeah.
is really
So
good.
he's got a, like, especially in the first episode, he stood out because of his sarcasm and his humor.
He kind of goes for it, right? He has that kind
Yeah.
of, and he gives a lot. He's giving a lot to it. Which I
Yeah.
agree.
They changed the fact that they got rid of his misogyny, and I get why they did that. But that is a huge part of his character journey,
It is.
right?
That
And
is.
I
But
wonder
that
if that's a
does
bit like,
also
come on,
happen
really?
in the
Why'd
first.
you
It only
do
happens
that?
in the first two episodes of so he's like he's
Till he
a
meets Suki, then
chauvinist,
it's
and then he
pretty
meets
much
Suki,
over,
and then it's over.
Yeah.
So in this, it was more about him becoming a warrior, which was the same.
Yes,
in
that's-
that
I
as
understand
well.
why they
I get why they
adapted
did, don't
that,
get me
but
wrong,
people are
but-
very upset. That's one thing I've read.
I'd say a
That
lot of
people
people
are very
upset
upset
about
about
I
that.
don't think
was
that's
like,
necessary
Yeah.
to be upset about.
I was devastated. I want some more misogyny on my screen.
There's one thing that I have to criticize anime about.
I went-
Not enough
Oh,
misogyny.
this is embarrassing.
I really like Suki. I thought she was great.
Yeah.
She only see her for an episode, but I like her. Like, I want to see the world, and there's this boy, or like, I enjoyed Fire Lord Ozai.
Oh,
seems
I
kind of
think
like
Fire Lord
mustache.
is the hottest guy ever.
He
It's
really
Daniel
is.
Day Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel Day
he's
Kim is
too-
great.
Are you
I knew I
serious?
recognised him.
I went,
But again,
Absolutely. Just
the look
should
of
he
him.
be?
I agree with him.
But should we have a face to him yet? Which
Yeah.
is
yeah.
a
If it's
is a
that
that's
face,
a big
It's a good
question.
face.
then sure.
It's a real good face.
But
They
him and
booked him and they went, well, showing us immediately.
I think
First scene.
I do think a big part of and that we'll get. I'm sure it'll get there. But a big part of Avatar is obviously the first book is Aang versus Zuko, or Aang and his team versus Zuko, and he's the main antagonist. And it's not until later you realize why, and then you start to feel for him, and then his arc really starts to shift, and he's arguably got one of the greatest character arcs in cinema, television story history. And we already know why he's doing it. So I understand why they're bringing Azula and the Fire Lord in a little bit early, way too early, so that they can create an antagonist that isn't Zuko.
I haven't seen the Cabbage Guy
I think it's
yet.
unfortunate.
I imagine he's going to be my favorite.
He's doing really well.
Yeah,
He's doing-
that's good.
he's,
I like that
yeah.
for him.
He does yell my cabbages and hold them up and scream.
cabbages. Every time.
It's
He's got
good.
he's got an
It's
overhead
good.
mic,
I
but
think
it's great.
look, my favorite character in the anime was Prince Zuko because I'm basic like that. But I think the actor playing him is doing a really interesting job at portraying like such angst, and he's bringing an intensity to it that I appreciate.
Yeah.
I think he's bringing the stakes in, and so you get to those scenes and you're like, shit, like what is up with this guy? And he's in, and him and Uncle, what's his name?
Iroh.
Oh my god, how dare I forget Uncle Iroh?
Iroh's
Iconic
my
character
favourite.
in the series. You think he's too chill?
I don't know. I've got such a soft spot for Iroh in the series, and this guy's
one of the best
great,
characters.
and I just don't know if the gravitas that I felt from Iroh is there in the same way. That might grow. I think that might grow, and I'm starting to see those glimpses now. Boomy was fun. I will say Boomy.
Boomy did a
was
great
fun.
job.
Yeah.
Hard fucking role to play as a live action. And it's funny, same with One Piece. Like in my head, I'm like, I feel sorry for these actors who play these ridiculous roles. They end up coming across the best because they just go for it. And there always these adult actors who are just like probably esteemed theatre performers or people who've done so many things just going, yeah, I have a field day with this. I don't mind if I beat this kooky old man who's an earthbender. Like it was cool.
Who do you want? Willem Dafoe? You can't have him. Let's get.
Ruined his career with Ryuk.
This guy was amazing.
I think he's doing
close.
fine actually.
He's fine. In my eyes, he ruined it.
My biggest disappointment is Daniel Pudi as the mechanist, not because he can't.
Good.
No, well, okay. So the biggest disappointment for me is not that he's good and he's absolutely nailing because he's great comedic impersonator as well. But what we've lacked with the mechanist was that fun around inventions. All of that interaction with Sokka was so earnest.
I think that's the problem with the whole show's tone though.
It's very I agree.
Like
and
that's-
I think in the Northern Air Temple episode in the series, the mechanist is a crazy inventor.
Yeah.
Sokka is really coming into his
Building
element as a
war
strategist
things,
and
like,
engineer in his own right, and they have this great chemistry. And that is more of an earnest father figure, saying, Sokka, you can be whatever you want, rather than, hey, let's have fun with blowing shit up or making things float or finding out where, the gas is.
And so does the mechanist come in later in the series?
Yeah, much later.
Because I was going to say, it seems
Right.
that way because Sokka having that realization of like, maybe I should be an engineer just happened very quickly. And I was like, I don't really care what you do, man. Like, it was just like, you know what I mean? Like, I think we haven't had enough time to grow with these characters to kind of get that. So
Yeah, the pacing is a bit off.
Yeah, I feel like I understand about, and I'm not one to be like, you have to do beat for beat because I don't understand the point of beat for beat remakes. So it's just like, watch the original. Sometimes things work better for certain things, but for that beat in particular, I was not quite sold on it.
Yeah, tonally they didn't get it. But what I'm seeing is, and what I speculated when I thought, how are they going to turn half-hour episodes into 1 hour episodes, or how are they going to put 3 in 1 or 2 in 1? Or I was really curious. In that one, I thought they found 2 story threads, which was the Jet betrayal of the party and the mechanist betrayal of the party, and put them together, but with opposing characters. So that I thought it was good writing.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's structural writing, maybe not, dialogue writing.
And I do think it's important to understand that you can't just have shot for shot make remakes of things,
No,
and like you have
that's
to
tough.
make changes because
Yeah.
that's how different mediums work for different things. That's the whole point of having different meanings of things. But then it's like, do we need to? Like, I think we should be able to take, I don't know. I wish that it would, like things like Arcane, for example, you wouldn't want a live action version of that,
No,
right? Like
no.
it works perfectly as an animated adaptation. It should be taken as seriously as a live action is. And that, anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the more I think about it, I used to be like, I would kill for a live adaptation of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I don't think I would.
Well, there is one, but
Oh, no, we don't talk about that.
yeah,
But it's done. It's perfect as it is.
yeah.
So I don't need that. Legend of the Galactic Heroes, on the other hand, yes, because not enough people have seen it.
One Punch Man.
They've thought,
Live action.
wow, the
Nah.
animation carries it too
No,
hard.
animation carries it way too hard.
know.
I think the comedy in that would be really hard to recreate for live action.
Be tough. That would be interesting.
But hey, I said that about
Interesting
One Piece
to
and I was wrong.
Who knows? Who knows? But anyway, so really quickly, just a little round robin before we go. Yay or nay on the adaptation? Only 2 options. Yay or nay?
If
Not
there's-
maybe.
I'll go yay.
I'm going to say nay.
Yeah, I saw that coming.
Nay, it just because I've been pushing myself to get through it. Like I'm nearly finished, and I'm like, and it was a slog, and that shouldn't. I'll watch anything. Like I will watch. Literally, I watched He's Just Not That Into You the other night. Like, and I did that voluntarily. If you can get through that, you can get through anything. You
I
know
said
what
yay
I mean?
or nay, Charlie.
Yeah, sorry, nay. The fact that I was like, oh, I have to watch this, like, and it looks, and I want to say yay so badly. I feel like I'm the target audience, but I'm going to give it a light nay. Like, it's Nay, it's there.
Yeah, okay. Brett.
I'll counter your light nay with a big yay.
Oh, wow.
Yay.
We're
And
going
that's
yay.
the fact we've got
Okay.
the two
Well, the two
actual
fans just said
fans
yay, so
say
listen to
yay.
If
them.
it was frame for frame of the original series, live action, great. It's not. We're going to have to
okay.
wear that, but we're in the world and we're experiencing it and bring
Yeah.
on Legend of Korra live action.
But we have
I think I've worked better
we
as
have
live action.
I do
another
too.
we have another Avatar series starting next year, following a new Avatar.
Yeah.
And we also have a 3D animated movie coming out following Aang and some miscellaneous adventure as well. So
Yeah.
plenty more Avatar.
The cinematic universe is here.
It's
arrived.
I'm looking forward to my Avatar adventure.
Yeah.
I need to get to the second book. And then I
I'm
think
really
I'll be
curious.
sold.
I can't wait to see if they do Tales of Ba Sing Se. Because
guy-
that's the only filler
guys
episode
don't
in
know
the
about Ba
entire
Sing Se.
series. He does, don't you? You've heard about...
I know of it.
I dropped in
Wait
a
for-
you've
bring
been
the
invited
tissues
to
to that
Lake
one, mate.
Lygao in the Discord the other day. I got nothing. When he was talking shit.
I mustn't have been on.
He was like, no, no. I was like, fair enough.
Yeah, it's like, I don't care about this, bro.
Oh, but if there was Avatar fans, I'd be like, that's a good burn. That was a cutting remark.
Well, now I've learned something. Get out of here,
Get
Graham.
out of here.
No, thank you all so much for listening to our Avatar review, roundup, thoughts, symposium, I suppose, if you will. Obviously, thank you again. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you're a podcast listener, please head to Apple Podcasts and or Spotify to give us a 5-star review. Really does make a difference. And obviously, if you really like what we're doing, Patreon, huge help. Obviously, we couldn't do what we do without the help of our patrons. And anyway, Brett, always a pleasure to have you back after so long. We always get you back sort of once a year these days.
I
And
love
I'm-
it. Thank you for bringing me back, especially on the couches. This is so much
I know
fun.
it's elite now. We're
Yeah.
we're in a crazy place now. But and also thank you for your expertise, and Graham, of course, thank you for yours. Appreciate it. Charlotte, the Devonport's a bit like.
I like how I spoke the most somehow. It's like how? Why?
Because
Halfway
you're
through
the
book one.
anti-hero Zuko of this all. We
Yeah.
thought we might be able to bring you around a redemption story, but it didn't work.
Absolutely
You're
not.
Full Fire Nation, and we
Full-
we heard it here first.
It's like the Star Wars episode when Charlie and I were like, oh.
No, I did a lot. I watched a lot of Avatar today. A
So
lot.
you've done, yeah.
But,
Actually,
I
you
think
watch
I've
Star
watched
Wars,
most
Dave-
of the series.
Actually, of all of the people here, you've watched most of the live action, so
My biggest fan of that show.
hence.
It's my favorite show. Anyway, thank you.
Anyway,
Netflix.
thanks so much. We'll catch you all next time. Have a good one.